Hello, hello, hello! Greetings, salutations, konnichiwa, and every other form of green across this vast, marvelous multiverse. I am Matsu Quinox. This is Horace, and welcome back, my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars, to the study. Hello there, hello there, hello there. Hello there, Darth Pamues. Congratulations on getting first. Hello there, Dr. Zedium. Welcome. Hello there, Yulian20. Welcome. Hello to you as well. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, all you marvelous scholars, wherever you are, whenever you are across this vast, marvelous omniverse. How are you all doing, my dear scholars? I hope you're doing well. I don't know why I'm doing that. Hope everything's going well for you, my dear scholars. Dr. Stadium aching all over from yard work. Hello. Aww. Sorry to hear that, Dr. Stadium. Yulian20 reasonably tolerable. I see, I see. Darth, I think you said hello 6 to 7 times in that intro. Oh, yeah, I know, I've got to do the stream. I am well aware. All right. Dr. Stadium, he clearly needs a Batman style, 1966 style villain who is themed around the numbers. No, 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 Dr. Stadium, I do not need that. I do not need that. Darth, I think that's a new record for me. I'm too kind to you, my dear scholars, aren't I? I'm too kind to you sometimes. Where was I? Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm glad most of you are having a good day today. Excuse me. My day was actually fairly busy. I actually visited my counterpart, my Cisnox. Yes, I have essentially what you beings call a sibling, Cisnox, and she was charged with looking over my omniversal teeth, which apparently need a little bit of adjusting. Well, the manifestation of teeth, it's kind of it's weird. It's weird because I what you're seeing here is not my true self. It's just a manifestation filtered through the way your minds um, perceive me. But still, it went well. I mean, Sisnox and I don't always get along. We sometimes have our little differences, but today went fairly smoothly for the most part. But it does mean I might have to get some more work done. That's why I said if any of you follow me on Blue Sky, that's why I said that this stream was dependent on how that turned out. I mean, it'd be very difficult to do a reading stream if my mouth is numb. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Speaking of reading streams, we should probably talk about tonight's stream, shouldn't we? I'm completely forgetting about that. Where was I? Oh, yes. Tonight, my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars, we are continuing our read through of The Moon Pool by A. Merritt. Darth, oh, I'm having a good day. I'm glad I didn't have to go anywhere near New York City today. The parade for the Knicks was today. It might take 6 to 7 hours. That many hours to clean all the confetti. I have no doubt. I have heard that it is quite a grand celebration. Good for them. Good for them. Um, yes. Yes. I'm not gonna say that number again. You already got your one, Darth. Um, Where was I? Oh yes, we are reading The Moon Pool by A. Merritt. The story so far, Dr. Goodwin, a doctor in I think it's anthropology, meets up with an old friend who apparently encountered a strange thing on an island in the Southeast Asia. After his friend disappears, he and a group of other companions, Larry, an Irish American who is Irish American pilot, Olaf, a Norwegian captain who lost his own family to the mysterious being, the Dweller, in the pool. Sounds so Lovecraftian there, but this is before Lovecraftian. And they manage to make it to the island where they meet another individual, Markinov, a Russian doctor who seems very suspicious. Together they journey underground, discover a lost civilization, and discover the fates of their companions. Things are getting really hot, my dear scholars. It's yeah, things are getting interesting. Darth, who said I get one per stream? I'll get you when you least expect it. Is that a challenge, Darth? Is that a challenge? I take it as a challenge. I'll keep my eye out on you, Darth. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. Anyway, my dear scholars, that's the story so far. I really need to find a better way to summarize these stories. Horace, we should just do like a. What we should do is do like a Star Wars style opening crawl for the story for the reading streams, so we could just quickly summarize them. Private Maverick, you just have to try harder, Darth. Do not encourage him, Private Maverick. Also, hello there, Private Maverick. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Do not encourage him. Anyway, yes. So that is the story so far. So, my dear scholars, shall we dive right back? Oh my goodness, I did a pun, didn't I? Shall we return to the tale of the moon pool and see where it leads us? What say you, my dear scholars? Excuse me. I take your silence as a go ahead. So then, my dear scholars, sit back, relax, have a hot or cold beverage of your liking, dim the lights if you wish, and let us continue our reading of The Moon Pool by A. Merritt. Chapter 20 The Tempting of Larry. Two notes on this before I continue. One, that is an incredibly silly name for a chapter. The Tempting of Larry. I don't. I think it's simply because the name Larry is such an ordinary name that a grandiose chapter in that style seems like it's far more than it deserves. And two, Larry's become kind of the main character, hasn't he? I mean, yeah, Goodwin is important. His search drove the plot, but most of the action and most of the action being taken is done by Larry. And he's the one who's getting most of the attention by the outside forces that are occurring. Sorry, I'm adjusting my seating. Excuse me. But I just want to make note of that. That's kind of funny. We paused before thick curtains, through which came the faint murmur of many voices. They parted. Out came two ushers, I suppose they were, in cuirasses and kilts that reminded me of somewhat of chainmail, the first armor of any kind here that I had seen. They held open the folds. The chamber on whose threshold we stood was far larger than either anteroom, or hall of audience. Not less than 300 feet long and not less than 300 feet long and half to that in depth. From end to end of it ran two huge semicircular tables, paralleling each other, divided by a wide aisle, and heaped with flowers, with fruits, with vineyards unknown to me, and glittering with crystal flagons, beakers, goblets of as many hues as the blooms. On the gay cushioned couches that flanked the tables, lounging luxuriously, were scores of the fair-haired ruling classes, and there rose a little buzz of admiration, oddly mixed with a half-startled amaze, as their gaze fell upon O'Keefe in all his silvery magnificence. Everywhere the light-giving globes sent their roseate radiance. The cuirassed dwarves led us through the aisle. Within the arc of the inner half, circle was another glittering board, an oval. Hold on. Oh, I misread that. Ugh. Within the arc of the inner half circle was another glittering board, an oval. But of those seated there facing us, I had eyes for only one. Yolara. She swayed up to greet O'Keefe, and she was like one of those white lily maids, whose beauty Hon-Kyu the sage says made the Gobi first a paradise, and whose lusts later the burnt-out desert that it is. She held out hands to Larry, and on her face was passion, unashamed, unhiding. She was Circe, but Circe conquered. Webs of flimsiest white clung to the rose-leaf body. Twisting through the corn silk hair, a threaded circlet of pale sapphires shone. But they were pale beside Yolara's eyes. O'Keefe bent, kissed her hands, something more than mere admiration flaming from him. She saw, and smiling, drew him down beside her. It came to me that of all, only these two, Yolara and O'Keefe, were in white, and I wondered. Then with a tightening of nerves ceased to wonder as there entered Luger. He was all in scarlet, and as he strode forward a silence fell, a tense, strained silence. Seems like there should be a comma here, there isn't. His gaze turned upon Yolara, rested upon O'Keefe, and instantly his face grew dreadful. There is no other word than that for it. Markinoff leaned forward from the center of the table, near whose end I sat, touched and whispered to him swiftly. With appalling effort the red dwarf controlled himself. He saluted the priestess ironically, I thought, took his place at the further end of the oval, and now I noted that the figures between were the seven of that council of which the Shining One's priestess and voice were the heads. The tension relaxed, but did not pass, as through a storm cloud should turn away, but still lurk, threatening. My gaze ran back. This end of the room was draped with the exquisitely colored, graceful curtains looped with gorgeous garlands. Between curtains and table, where sat Larry and the nine, a circular platform, perhaps 10 yards in diameter, raised itself a few feet above the floor, its gleaming surface half covered with the luminous petals, fragrant, delicate. On each side below it were low carven stools. The curtains parted and softly entered girls bearing their flutes, their harps, the curiously emotion-exciting octave drums. They sank into their places. They touched their instruments. A faint, languorous measure throbbed through the rosy air. The stage was set. What was to be the play? Excuse me. Now about the tables passed other dusky-haired maids, fair bosoms bare. Oh my goodness gracious. that's that's one way to get past the censors. Their scanty kirtles looped high, pouring out the wines for the feasters. Darth, I was curious to know how much confetti was dumped on NYC today. Does anyone, including Matsu, want to take a guess at much it was? No jokes or tricks in here, I swear. Oh my goodness gracious. I don't know. Uh, I'm gonna regret this. 69 tons. I'm gonna regret saying that, aren't I? Hmm. I don't have any other guesses. I'm just expecting it's somewhere in the tonnage, maybe. Excuse me. Hmm. My eyes sought O'Keefe. Whatever it had been that Markinoff had said, clearly it now filled his mind. Darth, it was 1.25 tons. Oh my goodness! I said there were no jokes here for once. Oh, I know. I'm sorry, Darth, but oh my goodness, that is a lot of paper. That is a lot. Oh, I hate to be the person who has to clean all that up. Oh, even to the exclusion of the wondrous woman beside him. His eyes were stern, cold, and now and then, as he turned them towards the Russian, filled with a curious speculation. Yolara watched him, frowned, gave a low order to the Hibe behind her. And what they mean by the Hibe is, for those who don't know, excuse me, Hibe in Greek mythology was the goddess of youth, and she was also one of the cupbearers to the gods in Greek mythology. There have been a bunch, but Hibe was one of them. Darth, I'd say NYC has 7K sanitation people to clean up the mess. Oh, thank. Well, at least they've got that, and that was a slip up, wasn't it? Oh my goodness gracious. Oh. Excuse me. The girl disappeared, entered again with a ewer that seemed cut of amber. The priestess poured from it into Larry's glass a clear liquid that shook with tiny sparkles of light. She raised the glass to her lips, handed it to him. Half smiling, half abstractly, he took it, touched his own lips where hers had kissed, drained it. A nod from Yolara, and the maid refilled his goblet. At once there was a swift transformation in the Irishman. His abstraction vanished. The sternness fled. His eyes sparkled. He leaned caressingly towards Yolara, whispered. Her blue eyes flashed triumphantly. Her chiming laughter rang. She raised her own glass, but within it was not that clear drink that filled Larry's. And again he drained his own. Oh, he's been drugged. And lifting it full once more, caught the baleful eyes of Lugar and held it toward him mockingly. Yolara swayed close, alluring, tempting. He arose, face all reckless gaiety, rollicking deviltry. Kidshon didn't think they had more than a 420 trucks. I don't know. And hello there, Kidshon. Welcome. Glad to have you here. I don't know if that was a reference, Kidshon. Now I'm starting to dread that I might have slipped into a reference. A toast, he cried in English, to the Shining One, and may the hell where it belongs soon claim it. He had used their own word for their god, all else had been in his own tongue, and so fortunately they did not understand. But the contempt in his action they did recognize, and a fearful silence fell upon them all. Luger's eyes blazed, little sparks of crimson in their green. The priestess reached up, caught at O'Keefe. He seized the soft hand, caressed it. His gaze grew far away, somber. The Shining One, he spoke low, and now again I see the faces of those who dance with it. It is the fires of Mora come, God alone knows how, from Erin to this place. The fires of Mora. He contemplated the hushed folk before him. Then from his lips came that weirdest, most haunting of the lyric legends of Erin, the curse of Mora. I believe Mora is an actual character in Irish folklore. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a song, isn't it? Give me 1 second, my dear scholars. Okay, here we go. The fretted fires of Mora blue o'er him in the night. He thrills no more to loving, nor weeps for past delight. For when those flames have bitten, both grief and joy take flight. Darth, oh, Kinchon, you missed me. Set a record for quickest. It took to make Matsu want to quit the stream. It was no, it was how many seconds in? I'm not gonna say that. Again Yolanda tried to draw him down beside her, and once more he gripped her hand. His eyes grew fixed. He crooned. And through the sleeping silence his feet much struck the tune. When the world is bad and speckled with silver of moon. He stood swaying for a moment, and then laughing let the priestess have her way, drained again the glass. And now my heart was cold indeed, for what hope was there left with Larry mad while drunk? The silence was unbroken, elven women and dwarves glancing furtively at each other. But now Yolanda rose, face set, eyes flashing gray. Hear you the council, and you, Luga, and all who are here, she cried. Now I, the priestess of the Shining One, take as is my right my mate. And this is he. She pointed down upon Larry. He glanced up at her. Can't quite make out what you say, Lolala, he muttered thickly. But say anything you like. I love your voice. I turned sick with dread. Yolanda's hand stole softly upon the Irishman's curls, caressingly. You know the law, Yolanda. Lugar was flat, deadly. Darth, damn it, note to self, space out the jokes. You can't catch me that easily. You may not mate with other than your own kind. And this man is a stranger, a barbarian, food for the Shining One. Literally, he spat the phrase. No, not of our kind, Luga. Higher, Yolanda answered serenely. Lo, a son of Saya and of Sayana. A lie! Roared the red dwarf. A lie! The Shining One revealed it to me, said Yolanda sweetly. And if ye believe not Luga, go ask of the Shining One if it be not true. There was bitter, nameless menace in those last words, and whatever their hidden message to Lugar, it was potent. He stood choking, face half shadowed. Markinoff leaned out again and whispered. The red dwarf bowed, not wholly ironically, resumed his place and his silence. And again I wondered ice-heartily what was the power the Russian had so to sway Lugar. Kintron, gotta give it 6-7 minutes unless you can spin a series of Purin's post. One, that is sneaky Kintron, and two, I just say, Kintron, Darth, at this point, bring it on. I dare you to try and catch me off guard there. I know I'm going to regret that. What says the council? Yolanda demanded, turning to them. Only for a moment they consulted them on themselves. Then the woman, whose face was a ravaged shrine of beauty, spoke. The will of the priestess is the will of the council, she answered. Darth gives the wolf a head pat for getting Matsu. Defiance died from Yolanda's face. She looked down at Larry tenderly. He sat, swaying, crooning. Bid the priests come, she commanded, then turning to the silent room. By the rights of Siaya and Siana, Yolanda takes their son for her mate. And again her hand stole down possessively, serpent soft, to the drunken head of O'Keefe. The curtains parted widely. Through them filed two by two 12-footed figures clad in flowing robes of the green one sees in forest vistas of opening buds of dawning spring. Of each pair one bore clasped up to breast a globe of that milky crystal in the sapphire shrine room, the other a harp, small, shaped somewhat like the ancient clarask of the Druids. Just checking something. Ooh, yeah, we got a lot to read. Two by two they stepped upon the raised platform, placed gently upon it each their globe, and two by two crouched behind them. They formed now a star of 6 points above the pedal dais, and simultaneously they drew from their faces the covering cowls. Darth, did the priests? No, no, bad brain. This isn't the stream for that dark side of you. Yes, I type my inner thoughts into here as I find it kind of funny. I understand, Darth. I understand. As long as you can control yourself a little bit, I understand. I half rose. Youths and maidens these of the fair-haired, and youths and maids more beautiful than any of those I had yet seen. For upon their faces was little of that disturbing mockery to which I had been forced so often, because of the deep impression it made upon me to refer. The ashen gold of the maiden priestess's hair was wound about their brows in shining coronals. The pale locks of the youths were clustered within circlets of translucent glimmering gems like moonstones. And then, crystal globe alternately before and harp alternately held by youth and maiden, they began to sing. What was that song I do not know, never shall. Archaic, ancient beyond thought it seemed. Not with the ancientness of things that for uncounted ages have been, but wind-driven dust. Rather was it the ancientness of the golden youth of the world, love lilts of earth younglings, with light of newborn suns drenching them, corals of young stars mating in space, murmurings of April gods and goddesses. A languor stole through me. The rosy lights upon the tripods began to die away, and as they faded, the milky globes gleamed forth brighter, ever brighter. Yulara rose, stretched a hand to Larry, led him through the sextuplet groups, and stood face to face with him in the center of their circle. Kintron, you do get bonus points for punning use in incredibly deep post that's been almost at the bottom of the sea, but just a hint of what's going on until you get to the end to keep things from bubbling up through an opening of a submarine station. Something like a moon pool. Nope. Nope, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going any further in the story, no. No, 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 no. I'm not going any further in the story. I'm done. I'm done. That. No, no. First Darth, and now you. No, 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 no. I'm done. I'm done. I'm over. I'm gone. I'm gone. I am gone. I am gone. Horse, you take over. Okay, fine, 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 fine. Fine, Darth, fine. Fine. Where was I? The rose light died. All that immense chamber was black, save for the circle of the glowing spheres. Within this, their milky radiance grew brighter, brighter. The song whispered away. A throbbing arpeggio dripped from the harps, and as the notes pulsed out, up from the globes, as though striving to follow, pulsed with them tips of moonfire cones, such as I had seen from Yolara's altar. Weirdly, caressingly, compellingly, the harp notes throbbed in repeated, re-repeated theme, holding within itself the same archaic golden quality I had noted in the singing. And over the moon flames pinnacles rose higher. Yolara lifted her arms. Within her hands were clasped O'Keefe's. She raised them above their two heads and slowly, slowly drew him into her into a circling, graceful step, tenderlings delicate as the slow spiralings of twilight mist upon some still stream. Oh my god, there's a lot of words. As they swayed, the rippling arpeggios grew louder, and suddenly the slender pinnacles of moonfire bent, dipped, flowed to the floor, crept into a shining ring around these two, and began to rise, a gleaming, glimmering, enchanted barrier, rising, ever rising, hiding them. Darth, I think this is the first time both me and Kinchana have made you want to quit stream, but in the same stream. Best stream ever. This is not the best stream ever. With one swift movement, Yolar unbound her circlet of pale sapphires, shook loose the waves of her silken hair. It fell, rippling, wondrous cascade, veiling both her and O'Keefe to their girdles. And now the shining coils of moonfire had crept to their knees, was circling higher, higher. Oh, you're good at ejaculating a lot of words out once. So, nah, 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 nah. Using an ever despair grew deeper in my soul. What was that? I started to my feet, and all around me in the darkness I heard startled motion. From without came a blaring of trumpets, the sound of running men, loud murmurings. The tumult drew closer. I heard cries of Latka, Latka. Now it was at the very threshold, and within it, oddly as though punctuating the clamor, a deep-toned, almost abysmal booming sound, thunderously bass and vibrant. Abruptly the harping ceased. The moon fires shuddered, fell, and began to sweep back into the crystal globes. Yolara's swaying form grew rigid, every atom of it listening. She threw aside the veiling cloud of hair, and in the gleam of the last retreating spirals her face glared out like some old Greek mask of tragedy. Darth, to be fair, I was in that last comment. I gave you a half compliment. I noticed that, Darth. I noticed that. I appreciate that. At least I appreciate that half compliment. The sweet lips that even at their sweetest could never lose their delicate cruelty had no sweetness now. They were drawn into a square, inhuman as that of the Medusa. In her eyes were the fires of the pit, and her hair seemed to writhe like the serpent locks of that Gorgon whose mouth she had borrowed. All her beauty was transformed into a nameless thing, hideous, inhuman, blasting. If this was the true soul of Yolara springing to her face, then I thought, God help us in that in very deed. I rested my gaze away to O'Keefe. All drunkenness gone, himself again. He was staring down at her, and in his eyes were loathing and horror unnutable. So they stood, and the light fled. Only for a moment did the darkness hold. With lightning swiftness, the blackness that was the chamber's other wall vanished. Through a portal open between gray screens, the silver sparkling radiance poured. Excuse me. And through the portal marched, two by two incredible nightmare figures. Frogmen, giants, taller by nearly a yard than even tall O'Keefe. Their enormous saucer eyes were irised by wide bands of green flecked red, in which the phosphorescence flickered. Their long muzzles, lips half open in monstrous grin, held rows of glistening, slender, lancet-sharp teeth, sharp fangs. Frogs normally do not have teeth. I think there is a species that does, though. Dart the sweet lips. That's how I ask for lip-shaped candies. I can only have 6, 7 pieces at one time, though. Okay, that's well. Yeah, gotta be careful with how many you eat. Over the glaring eyes arose a horny helmet, a caprice of black and orange scales, studded with foot-long lance-headed horns. They lined the they lined themselves like soldiers on each side of the wide table aisle, and now I could see that their horny armor covered shoulders and backs, ran across the chest in a knobbed cuirass, and all wrists and heels jutted out into carved murderous spurs. The webbed hands and feet ended in yellow spade-shaped claws. They carried spears 10 feet at least in length, the heads of which were pointed cones, glistened with that same covering from whose touch of swift decay had so narrowly saved Rador. Private Maverick, painfully obvious death is obsessed with a dummy. No. Painfully obvious Darth is obsessed with a dummy. Oh dear. Excuse me. They were grotesque, yes. More grotesque than anything I had ever seen or dreamed. And they were terrible. And then quietly through their ranks came a girl. Behind her, enormous pouch at his throat swelling in and out menacingly. In one paw, a tree-like spike-studded mace. A frogman, huger than any of the others, guarding. But of him I caught but a fleeting, involuntary impression. All my gaze was for her. For it was she who had pointed out to us the way from the peril of the dweller's lair on non-touch. And as I looked at her, I marveled that ever could I have thought the priestess more beautiful. Into the eyes of O'Keefe rushed joy and an utter abasement of shame. And from all about came murmurs, edged with anger, half incredulous, tinged with fear. Latka! Latka! The handmaiden! She halted close beside me. From firm little chin to dainty buskinned feet she was swathed in the soft robes of dull, almost coppery hue. The left arm was hidden, the right free and gloved. Wound tight about it was one of the vines of the sculptured wall, and of Luger's circled signet ring. Thick, a vivid green, its 5 tendrils ran between her fingers, stretched out 5 flowered heads that gleamed like blossoms cut from gigantic glowing rubies. So she stood, contemplating Yolara. Then, drawn perhaps by my gaze, she dropped her eyes upon me, golden, translucent, with tiny flecks of amber in their orate irises. The soul that looked through them was as far removed from that flaming out of the priestess of as Zenith is above Nadir. I noted the low, broad brow, the proud little nose, the tender mouth, and the soft sunlight glow that seemed to transfuse the delicate skin. And suddenly in the eyes dawned a smile, sweet, friendly, a touch of roguishness, profoundly reassuring in all its humanness. I felt my heart expand as though freed from fetters, a recurrence of confidence in the essential reality of things, as though in nightmare the struggling consciousness should glimpse some familiar face, and know the terrors with which it strove were but dreams. And involuntarily I smiled back at her. She raised her head and looked again at Yolara, contempt and a certain curiosity in her gaze at O'Keefe, and through the softened eyes drift swiftly a shadow of sorrow, and on its fleeting wings deepest interest, and hovering over that a naive approval as reassuringly human as had been her smile. She spoke, and her voice, deep timbered, liquid gold as was Yolara's all silver, was subtly the synthesis of all the golden glowing beauty of her. Excuse me. Drink. A little new voice. The Silent Ones have sent me, O Yulara, she said, and this is their command to you, that you deliver to me to bring before them 3 of the 4 strangers who have found their way here. For him there who plots with Lugar. She pointed at Markinov, and I saw Yolara start. They have no need. Into his heart the Silent Ones have looked, and Lugar and you may keep him, Yolara. There was honeyed venom in the last words. Yolara was herself again, only the edge of shrillness on her voice revealed her wrath as she answered. And whence have the Silent Ones gained power to command? Cho Ya? This last I knew was a very vulgar word. I had heard Rador use it in a moment of anger to one of the serving maids, and it meant approximately kitchen girl, scullion. Beneath the insult and the acid disdain, the blood rushed up under Lakla's ambered ivory skin. Yolara, her voice was low, of no use is it to question me. I am but the messenger of the Silent Ones, and one thing only am I bidden to ask you. Do you deliver to me the 3 strangers? Lugar was on his feet, eagerness, sardonic delight, sinister anticipation thrilling from him. And my same glance showed Markinov crouched, biting his fingernails, glaring at the golden girl. No! Yolara spat the word. No! Now by Thanaroa and by the Shining One, no! Her eyes blazed, her nostrils were wide as her fair throat. A little pulse beat angrily. You, Lakla! Take you my message to the Silent Ones. Say to them that I keep this man, she pointed to Larry, because he is mine. Say to them that I keep the yellow-haired one and him, she pointed to me, because it pleases me. Tell them tell them that upon their mouths I place my foot, so she stamped upon the dais viciously, and that in their faces I spit. And her action was hideously snake-like. And say last to them, you handmaiden, that if you they dare send to Yolara again, she will feed you to the Shining One. Now go! The handmaiden's face was white. Not unforeseen by the 3 was this, Yolara, she replied. And did you speak as you have spoken, then was I bidden to say this to you. Her voice deepened. 3 Tal have you to take counsel, Yolara, and at the end of that day, these things must you have determined, either to do or not to do. First, send the strangers to the Silent Ones. Second, give up you and Luga and all of you that dream you have of conquest of the world without. And third, forswear the Shining One. And if you do not one and all these things, then are you done, your cup of life broken, your wine of life spilled. Yea, Yolara, for you and the Shining One, Lugar and the Nine, and all those here and their kind shall pass. This say the Silent Ones. Surely shall all of ye pass, and be as though never had ye been. Now a gasp of rage and fear arose from all those around me. But the priestess threw back her head and laughed loud and long. Into the silver sweet chiming of her laughter clashed that of Luger. Kinshon, they will pass, and don't call me Shirley. Clashed that of Luger, and after a little the nobles took it up, till the whole chamber echoed with their mirth. O'Keefe, lips tightening, moved toward the handmaiden, and almost perceptibly, but peremptorily, she waved him back. Those are great words. Great words indeed, Cholya, shrilled Yolara at last, and again Lakla winced beneath the word. Lo, for Laya upon Laya, the Shining One has been freed from the three, and for Laya upon Lila, they have sat helpless, rotting. Now I ask you again, whence comes that power to lay their will upon me? And whence comes their strength to wrestle with the Shining One, and the beloved of the Shining One? And again she laughed, and again Lugar and all the fair-haired joined in their laughter. Into the eyes of Lakla I saw creep a doubt, a wavering, as though deep within her the foundations of her own belief were none too firm. She hesitated, turning upon O'Keefe gaze in which rested more than suggestion of appeal. And Yolara saw too, for she flushed with triumph, stretched a finger towards the handmaiden. Look! She cried. Look! Why, even she does not believe! Her voice grew silk of silver, merciless, cruel. Now am I minded to send another answer to the send another answer to the silent ones. Yea, but not by you, Lakla. By these. She pointed to the frogmen, and swift as light her hand darted into her bosom, bringing forth the little shining cone of death. But before she could level it, the Golden Girl had released that hidden left arm and thrown over her face a fold of the metallic swathings. Swifter than Yolar, she raised the arm that held the vine. And now I knew this was no inert, blossoming thing. It was alive. It writhed down her arm, and its 5 ruberesque flower heads thrust out toward the priestess, vibrating, quivering, held in leash only by the light touch of the handmaiden at its very end. From the swelling throat pouch of the monster behind her came a succession of verberant boomings. The frogmen wheeled, raised their lances, leveled them at the throng. Around the reaching ruby flowers a faint red mist swiftly grew. The silver cone dropped from Yolara's rigid fingers. Her eyes grew stark with horror. All her unearthly loveliness fled from her. She stood pale-lipped. The handmaiden dropped the protecting veil, and now it was she who laughed. It would seem, then, Yolara, that there is a thing of the silent ones ye fear, she said. Well, the kiss of Yetka I promise you in return for the embrace of your Shining One. She looked at Larry, long, searching, and suddenly again with all that effect of sunlight bursting in dark places. Her smile shone upon him. She nodded half gaily, looked down upon me, the little merry light dancing in her eyes, waved her hand to me. She spoke to the giant frogman. He wheeled behind her as she turned, facing the priestess, club upraised, fanes glistening. His troop moved not a jot, spears held high. Lakla began to pass slowly, almost, I thought, tauntingly. And as she reached the portal, Larry leaped from the dais. "Alana!" he cried. "You'll not be leaving me just when I've found you!" In his excitement he spoke in his own tongue, the velvet brogue appealing. Lakla turned, contemplated O'Keefe, hesitated, unquestionably longingly, irresistibly like a child making up her mind whether she dared or dared not take a delectable something offered her. Goodness me, this is a long chapter. "I go with you," said O'Keefe this time in her I go with you, said O'Keefe this time in her own speech. "Come on, Doc." He reached out a hand to me. But now Yolara spoke. Life and beauty had flown back into her face, and in the purple eyes all hosts of devils were gathered. "Do you forget what I promised you before Sia and Siana? And do you think that you can leave me, as though I were a Choya, like her?" She pointed to Lakla. "Do you—" "Now listen, Yolara," Larry interrupted only almost plaintively. "No promise has passed from me to you. And why would you hold me?" He passed unconsciously into English. "Be a good sport, Yolanda," he urged. "You have got a very devil of a temper, you know, and so have I. And we'd be really awfully uncomfortable together. And why don't you get rid of that devilish pet of yours and be good?" She looked at him, puzzled. Markinoff leaned over, translated to Luger. The red dwarf smiled maliciously, drew near the priestess, whispered her what was without doubt as near as he could come in the Mauryan to Larry's own very colloquial phrases. Yolara's lips writhed. "Hear me, Lakla!" she cried. "Now would I not let you take this man from me were I to dwell 10,000 Leia in the agony of Yatka's kiss. This I swear to you by Thanaroa, by my heart and by my strength. And by my strength wither, my heart rot in my breast, and Thanarea forget me if I do." "Listen, Yolanda," began O'Keefe again. "Be silent, you!" It was almost a shriek, and her hand again sought in her breast for the corner of the rhythmic death. Luger touched her arm, whispered again. The glint of guile shone in her eyes. She laughed softly, relaxed. "The Silent Ones, Lakla, bade you say that they allowed me 3 tal to decide," she said suavely. "Go now in peace, Lakla, and say that Yolara has heard, that for the 3 tal they allow her, she will take counsel." The handmaiden hesitated. "The Silent Ones have said it," she answered at last. "Stay you here, strangers." The long lashes drooped as her eyes met O'Keefe's, and a hint of blush was in her cheeks. "Stay you here, strangers, till then. But Yolara, see you on that heart and strength you have sworn by, that they come to no harm, else that which you have invoked shall come upon you swiftly indeed. And that I promise you," she added. Their eyes met, clashed, burned into each other, black flame from Abaddon and golden flame from Paradise. "Remember," said Lakla, and passed through the portal. The gigantic frogman boomed a thunderous note of command. His grotesque guards turned and slowly followed their mistress, and last of all passed out the monster with the mace. Oh my goodness gracious, long chapter there. So it looks like we have two forces at work in this little civilization. The silent ones, whoever they may be, and it seems like they're higher up, and the shining one, who seems to have some relation with the silent ones, but we don't know what they are at all. And Yolara is very obvious. They're making very obviously now that Mark Kinoff is not on the side of good. He's in it for himself, which is interesting. Wonder where they're going to lead it. Oh my goodness, this is another chapter. Long chapter. We might only get through 2 chapters today, my dear scholars. We will see. Feels a lot like after all the short chapters we had early on in the book that A. Merritt was really, really, really rushing to get to this part of the story, and now he's got some time to stretch it out, to relax, to get the actual plot going, or at least a lot of the descriptions in there. Darth, me, back. The staff in my residence called me down for meds. Got out of my room, smelled gas, realized I forgot to turn off the stove. Did that. Went down for meds, then talked to the staff for 6 to 7 minutes. Oh, I hope you're okay there, Darth. I mean, leaving the stove on like that, and yes, I caught that I accidentally said that number. Gosh. Okay, where was I? Oh yes, next chapter, probably the last chapter for the night. We'll see. I can. My voice is a little bit rough tonight, probably from the work. Chapter 21. Larry's Defiance. So we go from one Larry chapter to another Larry chapter. A clamor arose from all the chambers, stilled in an instant by a motion of Yolara's hand. She stood silent, regarding O'Keefe with something other now than blind wrath, something half regretful, half beseeching. But the Irishman's control was gone. Yolanda! His voice shook with rage, and he threw caution to the wind. Now hear me. I go where I will, and when I will. Here shall we stay until the time she named is come, and then we follow her, whether you will or not. And if any should have thought to stop us, tell them that this flame that shattered the vase, he added grimly. The wistfulness died out of her eyes, leaving them cold, but no answer made she to him. Darth, you also said it was my lip candy comment, and I thought the face you made 2 seconds later was you realizing you said it was because of. Give me a second. Of horny arm. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice you made a comment about that. Oh no. Yeah, that was yeah. That comment. Oh. Excuse me. Again. Yeah. The What Lakla has said, the council must consider, and at once. The priestess was facing the nobles. Now, friends of mine, and friends of Lugar, must all feud, all rancor between us end. She glanced swiftly at Lugar. The Daedala are stirring, and the silent ones threaten. Yet fear not, for are we not strong under the Shining One? And now, leave us! Her hand dropped to the table, and she gave evidently a signal, for in marched a dozen or more of the green dwarfs. Take these two to their place, she commanded, pointing to us. The green dwarfs clustered about us. Without another look at the priestess, O'Keefe marched beside me, between them from the chamber, and it was not until we had reached the pillared entrance that Larry spoke. I hate to talk like that to a woman, Doc, he said, and a pretty woman at that. But first she played me like a marked deck, and then not only pinched all the chips, but drew a gun on me. What the hell? Oh, that line! What the hell? She nearly had me married to her. Oh my goodness gracious. It's one of those situations where a phrase that sounds very modern ends up being slipped into basically a book from early 1900s. That's wild. Excuse me. I don't know what the stuff was she gave me, but take it from me, if I had the recipe for that brew, I could sell it for $1,000 a jolt at 42nd and Broadway. One bit of it, and you forget there is a trouble in the world. Three of them, and you forget there is a world. No excuse for it, Doc, and I don't care what you say or what Lakla may say. It wasn't my fault, and I don't hold it up against myself for a damn. I must admit that I'm a bit uneasy about her threats, I said, ignoring all this. He stopped abruptly. What are you afraid of? Mostly, I answered dryly, I have no desire to dance with the Shining One. Kintron, the book predicting gummies. Darth, it was definitely coke. Yes. Listen to me, Goodwin. He took up his walk impatiently. I've all the love and admiration for you in the world. But this place has got your nerve. Hereafter, one Larry O'Keefe of Ireland, and the little old USA, leads this party. Nix on the tremolo stop, nix on the superstition. I'm the works, get me? Yes, I get you, I exclaimed testily enough. But to use your own phrase, kindly can the repeated references to superstition. Why should I? He was almost wrathful. You scientific people build up whole philosophies on the basis of things you never saw. You scoff at people who believe in other things that you think they never saw, and that don't come under what you label as scientific. You talk about paradoxes, why your scientist who think he is the most skeptical, the most materialistic aggression of atoms ever gathered at the exact mathematical center of Missouri, has more blind faith than a dervish, and more credulity, more superstition than a cross-eyed smoke beating it past a country graveyard in the dark of the moon. Darth, something I have no desire to try. We all know what Coke I'm talking about right now. You do not need to explain. We know what you're talking about. Also, Larry's little rant there. I kind of agree with him, especially in terms of this story. Goodwin kind of is a real. And this happens in a lot of fiction, and sometimes with real life. That it's always the scientist who's like the most skeptical of everything, and yet at the same time has to make these guesses, which are essentially on blind faith sometimes. Okay. Kintron, so many folklore pokes. Yeah, there were a lot of folklore pokes in that. I gotta open up another bottle of water. I think I went through one already. Larry! I cried, dazed. Olaf's no better, he said, but I can make allowances for him. He's a sailor. No, sir. What this expedition needs is a man without superstition. And remember this. The leprechaun promised that I'd have full warning before anything happened. And if we do have to go out, we'll see that banshee bunch clean up before we do, and pass in a blaze of glory. And don't forget it. Hereafter, I'm in charge. By this time we were before our pavilion, and neither of us in a very admirable mood, I'm afraid. Rador was awaiting us with a score of his men. Let none pass in here without authority, and let none pass out unless I accompany them, he ordered brusquely. Summon one of the swiftest of the Coria and have it wait in readiness, he added, as though by afterthought. But when we had entered and the screens were drawn together, his manner changed. All eagerness, he questioned us. Briefly, he told him of the happenings at the feast, of Lakla's dramatic interruption, and of what had followed. 3 tal, he said musingly. 3 tal the silent ones have allowed. And Yolar agreed. He sank back, silent and thoughtful. Kintron, heh, leprechauns and prawns. That is true. Trusting a fae is dangerous. On the best of times. Okay, there is a little note here. You gotta go down and check what that note says. A tall in Moria is the equivalent of 30 hours of Earth surface time. So 3 hours. So that was it 30 hours. So that would be 240 hours. I'm terrible at math. Yeah, it was Olaf. Yeah, I told you the Shining Devil's mistress was all evil, yeah. Now I begin again that tale I started when I came. He glanced toward the preoccupied orator. And tell him not what I say, should he ask. For I trust none here in thraldom, save the Jomfra, Jom, the yeah, excuse me, the Jomfrau, the White Maiden. After the Ulster was adsped, Olaf once more used that expressive Norwegian word for the dissolving of Songar. I knew that it was a time for cooning. I said to myself, if they think I have no ears to hear, they will speak. And it may be if I may and it may be I will find a way to save my Helma and Dr. Gudrun's friends too, yeah. It's hard to do this accent. And they did speak. Darth, trusting a leprechaun promises like trusting the promise of an evil Sith Lord. Can't trust them. Yeah. The Red Trode asked the Russian how he came. How came it he was a worshipper of Tarorora? I could not resist a swift glance of triumph towards O'Keefe. And the Russian, rumbled Olaf, said that all his people worshipped Tarorora and had fought against the other nations that denied him. Oh, so that's how he got in on them. Interesting. And then we had come to Luca's palace. They put me in rooms and they came to me men who robbed and oiled me and loosened my muscles. Interesting. The next day I wrestled with a great dwarf they called Valdor. He was a mighty man, and long we struggled, and at last I broke his back. And Luga was pleased, so I sat with him at feast, and with the Russian too, and again not knowing that I understood them, they talked. The Russian had gone fast and far. They talked of Luga as Emperor of all Europe, and Marikina under him. Ah, there we go. They spoke of the green light that shook life from the Ulster, and Luca said the secret of it had been the ancient ones, and that the council had not too much of it. But the Russian said that among his race were many wise men who could make more once they had studied it. Again, 1919, Red Scare. We essentially have an evil Russian villain in this, of the type that wasn't that uncommon during this era in 1919, and would later, of course, become more common in the 1950s. But that's another story. And the next day I wrestled with a great dwarf named Tohola, mightier far than Vador. Him I threw after a long, long time, and his back I also broke. Again Luke I was pleased, and again we sat at table, he and the Russian and I. This time they spoke of something these Thralden have which opens up a Vesverga, abysses into which all its range drops up into the sky. What? I exclaimed. I know about them, said Larry. Wait! Luger had drunk much, went on Olaf. He was boastful. The Russian pressed him to show this thing. After a while the red one went out and came back with a little golden box. Darth, do what my brain definitely misheard the dwarf say? Probably. I have no doubt. It's really hard to do some of these things. And came back with a little golden box. He and the Russian went into the garden. I followed them. There was a little a hole, a mound of stones in the garden on which grew flowers and trees. Luca pressed upon the box, and a spark no bigger than a sand grain leapt out and fell beside the stone. Luca pressed again, and a blue light shot from the box and lighted on the spark. The spark had been no bigger than a grain of sand, grew and grew as the blue struck it, and then there was a sign. A wind blew, and the stone and the flowers and the trees they were not. They were forced, they were forced, vanished. You know, all this technology, all this weapon technology these characters have, it's really complicated. I mean, it feels I mean with the first one we saw, it sounds like it takes like at least 2 to 3 minutes for actually it to do anything. And this one they're describing it you have to press it twice, one to repair and one to actually do it, which it's just I'm sorry, it's kind of hilarious how this is supposed to be very advanced, yet it's everything that they have so far is very slow moving in its destructiveness. Then Luga, who had been laughing, grew quickly sober, for he thrust the Russian back, far back, and soon down into the garden came tumbling the stones and the trees, but broken and shattered, and falling as though from a great height. And Luga said that of these something they had much, for its making was a secret hand down by their own forefathers, and not by the ancient ones. They feared to use it, he said, for a spark thrice as large as that he had used would have sent all that garden falling upward, and might have opened the way to the outside before. He just said this, before we are ready to go out into it. Mm. Ah. The Russian questioned much, but Luga sent for more drink and grew merrier and threatened him, and the Russian was silent through fear. Thereafter I listened when I could, and little more I learned, but that little enough. Ja, Luga is hot for conquest. Primary bork. I know. It, it's hard to do a Norwegian Swedish accent without being very broad in this case. Borker. Yeah, it comes across as a little stereotypical, but it makes it a little easier to do this sort of language for this scene at least. I'm trying not to be offensive, but sometimes doing a broad accent just makes the reading easier. Lugard is hot for conquest. So Yolanda and so the council. They tire of it here, and the silent ones make their minds not too easy, no, even though they jeer at them. And this they planned, to rule our world with the shining devil. The Norse was silent for a moment, then voice deep, trembling. Throw them is awake. Hervid crouches at Earthgate, whining to be loosed into our world already devil-ridden, and we are but three. I felt the blood drive out of my heart. But Larry's was the fighting face of the O'Keefes of 1,000 years. Rador glanced at him, arose, stepped through the curtains, returned swiftly with the Irishman's uniform. Put it on, he said brusquely, again fell back into his silence. Whatever O'Keefe had been about to say was submerged in his wild, joyful whoop. He ripped from him glittering tunic and leg swathings. Richard is himself again, he shouted, and each garment as he donned it fanned his old devil-may-care confidence to a higher flame. The last scrap of it on, he drew himself up before us. I gotta get that voice back. I was doing too much of Olaf. So the accent's stuck in my head. I can't do the accent. Yeah, Olaf's accent stuck too hard. Bow down, ye devils! Divils, he cried. Bang your heads on the floor and do homage to Larry the First, Emperor of Great Britain, autocrat of all Ireland, Scotland, England and Wales, and adjacent waters and islands. Kneel, ye skirts, kneel! Larry, I cried, are you going crazy? Not a bit of it, he said. I'm that and more if Comrade Markinoff's on the level. Whoop! Bring forth the royal jewels and put a whole bunch of golden strings in Tara's harp. And down with the Sassenachs forever. Whoop! He did a wild jig. Lord, how good the old togs feel. He grinned. The touch of 'em have gone to my head. But it's straight stuff I'm telling you about my empire. He sobered. Not that it's not serious enough at that. A lot that Olaf's told us I've surmised from hints dropped by Yolanda, but I got the full key of it from the Red himself when he stopped me just before he reddened. Well, just before I acquired that brand new brand of sauce. Maybe he had a hint. Maybe he just surmised that I knew a lot more than I did. And he thought Yolanda and I were going to be lovely, loving little turtle doves. Also, he figured that Yolanda had a lot more influence with the unholy fireworks than Luger. Also, that being a woman, she could be more easily handled. Oh, that is judgmental. All this being so, what was the logical thing for himself to do? Sure you can. Sure you get me, Steve. Throw down Luger and make an alliance with me. So he calmly offered to ditch the Red Devil if I would deliver Yolanda. My reward from Russia was to be said emperorship. Can you beat it? Good Lord! He went off into a perfect storm of laughter. But not to me in the light of what Russia has done and has proved herself capable did this thing seemed at all absurd. Rather in it I sensed the dawn of catastrophe colossal. Again, 1919, post-Russian Revolution, first Red Scare. So that's a lot of where this comes from. And yet, he was quiet enough now. I'm a bit scared. They've got the Keth ray and those gravity-destroying bombs. Gravity-destroying bombs? I gasped. Why is he repeating? He just heard how the weapon was described. Sure, he said. The little fairy that sent the trees and stones kiting up from Luger's garden. Markinoff licked his lips over them. They cut off gravity, just about as the shadow screens cut off light. And consequently, whatever's in their range goes shooting just naturally up to the moon. They get my goat, why deny it? Went on Larry. With them and the Keth and gentle invisible soldiers walking around assassinating at will, well, the worst Bolsheviks are only pulling babes, eh, Doc? I don't mind the shining one, said O'Keefe. One splash of a downtown New York high-pressure fire hose would do for it. But the others are the goods, believe me. Excuse me. Oh, we're almost done. But for once O'Keefe's confidence found no echo within me. Not lightly, as he did I hold that dread mystery, the Dweller, and a vision passed before me, a vision of an apocalypse undreamed by the evangelicalist. A vision of the Shining One swirling into our world, a monstrous, glorious, flaming pillar of incarnate, internal evil. Of peoples passing through its radiant embrace into that hideous, unearthly life and death, which I had seen unfold the sacrifices. Of armies trembling into dancing atoms of diamond dust, beneath the green ray's rhythmic death. Of cities rushing out into space upon the wings of that other demonic force which Olaf had watched at work. Of a haunted world through which the assassins of the Dweller's court stole invisible, carrying with them every passion of hell. of the rallying to the thing of every sinister soul, and of the weak and the unbalanced, mystics and carnivores of humanity alike. For well I knew that, once loosed, not any nation could hold this devil god for long, and that swiftly its blight would spread. And then a world that was all colossal reek of cruelty and terror, a welter of lusts, of hatreds, and of torment, a chaos of horror in which the dweller waxing ever stronger, the ghastly hordes of those who had consumed growing ever greater, wrecked its inhuman will. And at the last, a ruined planet, a cosmic plague spinning through the shuddering heavens, its verdant plains, its murmuring forests, its meadows and its mountains manned only by a countless crew of soulless, mindless dead alive, their shells illuminated with the dweller's infernal glory. And flaming over this vampirized earth, like a flare from some hell far, infinitely far beyond the reach of man's farthest flung imagining, the dweller. Radar jumped to his feet, walked to the whispering globe. He bent over its base, did something with its mechanism, beckoned to us. The globe swam rapidly, faster than ever I had seen it before. A low humming arose, changed into a murmur, and then from it I heard Luger's voice clearly. "It is to be war, then?" There was a chorus of assent from the council, I thought. "I will take the tall one named Larry." It was the priestess's voice. After the 3 tal, you may have him, Luger, to do with as you will." "No!" It was Luger's voice again, with a rasp of anger. "All must die. Kinshon, the priestess wants Larry. Yes, she wants Larry." "He shall die," again Yolara. "But I would that first he see Lakla pass, and that she know what is to happen to him." "No!" I started, for this was Marakinov. "Now is no time, Yolanda, for one's own desires. This is my counsel. At the end of the 3 tal, Lakla will come for our answer. Your men will be in ambush, and they will slay her and her escort quickly with the kith. But not till that is done must the 3 be slain, and then quickly. With Lakla dead, we shall go forth to the Silent Ones. And I promise you that I will find the way to destroy them." "It is well." It was Luger. "It is well, Yolara." It was a woman's voice, and I knew it for that old one of ravaged beauty. "Cast from your mind whatever it is for this stranger, either of love or hatred. In this council is with Luger, and the man of wisdom." There was silence. Then came the priestess's voice, sullen, but beaten. "It is well." "Let the 3 be taken now by Radar to the temple and given to the high priest Sator," thus Luger, "until we have planned comes to pass." Darth, note to self, don't look at the shop app after ADHD meds worn off, as I have little to no impulse control. That is wise words, Darth. That is wise words. Radar gripped the base of the globe. Abruptly it ceased its spinning. He turned to us as though to speak, and even as he did so, its bell notes sounded peremptorily, and on it the color film began to creep at their accustomed pace. "I hear," the green dwarf whispered. "They shall be taken there at once." The globe grew silent. He stepped towards us. "You have heard." He turned to us. "Not!" Oh, sorry. "Not on your life, Radar," said Larry. "Nothing doing." And then in the Murian's own tongue, We follow Lakla, Radar, and you lead the way. He thrust the pistol close to the green dwarf's side. Radar did not move. Of what use? Of what use, Larry? He said quietly. Me you can slay, but in the end you will be taken. Life is not held so dear in Muria that my men out there and those others who can come quickly will let you by, even though you slay many, and in the end they will overpower you. There was a trace of irresolution in O'Keefe's face. And, added Rador, if I let you go, I dance with the Shining One. Or worse. O'Keefe's pistol dropped. You're a good sport, Rador, and far be it from me to get you in bad, he said. Take us to the temple. When we get there, well, your responsibility ends, doesn't it? The green dwarf nodded. On his face, a curious expression. Was it relief? Or was it emotion higher than this? He turned curtly. Follow, he said. We passed out of that gay little pavilion that had come to be home to us even in this alien place. The guards stood at attention. You, Satoya, stand by the globe, he ordered one of them. Should the Afyo Mea ask, say that I am on my way with the strangers even as she has commanded. We passed through the line to the corral, standing like a great shell at the end of the runway, leading into the green road. Wait you here. Wait you here, he said curtly to the driver. The green dwarf ascended to his seat, sought the lever, and we swept on. Out and out upon the glistening obsidian. Then Rador faced us and laughed. Larry, he cried, I love you for that spirit of yours. And did you think... And Larry, oh, I gotta do that voice run. I did it wrong. Larry, he cried, I love you for that spirit of yours. And did you think that Rador would carry to the temple prison a man who would take the chances of torment upon his own shoulders to save him? Or you, Goodwin, who saved him from the rotting death? For what did I take the Coriel, or lift the veil of silence that I might hear what threatened you? He swept the Coriel to the left, away from the temple approach. I am done with Luger, and with Yolara and the Shining One, cried Rador. My hand is for you three, and for Lakla and those to whom she is handmaiden. The shell leaped forward, seemed to fly. And we will stop there for the night. I know it's only 2 chapters, but they've been pretty long chapters. So we'll stop there. I got the thing all set for next time. Oh, those chapters are actually pretty good. This was actually these 2 chapters are actually pretty exciting. I think because before it was a lot of world building, and now we're actually getting into a little more of the end plot and what to expect from it. Which is, it's really interesting. It is interesting that we have these 2 forces at work. The worshippers of the Shining One and the handmaiden of the Silent Ones. Darth, you also had to deal with Sith Lord and Wolf shenanigans. I am well aware of that. Darth, I am well aware of that. But overall, these 2 were really interesting. After what seemed like forever, just kind of dull chapters. I'm sorry, A Merit. But until this point, it was kind of slow in some parts. Not to say the chapters were perfect. I mean, so many descriptions. Larry is an interesting character, and I can see that, really, that Merritt is having a lot more fun writing Larry than any of the other characters. In some ways, Larry should have been the main character rather than Goodwin. Goodwin's a bit of a wet fish. He doesn't seem to be really doing anything except staying around being incredulous about the whole business. Um, but no, this has been fun. This has been fun chapters, and hopefully we can get a little further next time. So speaking of next time, next week, if everything goes according to plan, next week, my dear scholars, Monday, we're gonna probably go back to Thank Goodness You're Here. I mean, what's called was a lot of fun. Well, fun is a big term, but uh, Horizon Zero Dawn, we're gonna take another break from, and we are gonna go back to Thank Goodness You're Here for next time's gaming stream. And if we finish it early, we might play a little demo, maybe, of a new game coming out. We'll see. And then next Thursday, again, if everything goes according to plan, we will be reading more of the Moon Pool and see where our adventurers get themselves. What they get themselves into. Hmm. So then, let's see who we can raid tonight before we go. Who is online? I do not have. I do not have my thing online. That would probably be really helpful. Oh! Mossmellow Bun is streaming. Let's go visit them. It's been a long time since we've raided Mossmellow Bun. They are playing Is This Sea Taken? So let's raid them. So then, my dear scholars, I say unto you, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, till we meet each other again at the study. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Till then, farewell and bye bye.